Hello, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to Latter-day Jeppy. I'm making another video in one day, one night, because why not, right? I was planning on doing this video a little later, as I had more time to study and ponder. But I had the impression to make this video tonight, or I guess this morning, or whenever you're watching it, because I don't know. Just been pondering a lot about the gospel and whatnot, and this was on my mind since I just recently read about this in the Book of Mormon. We're reading in Alma 3. This is talking about the mark of darker skin that was placed upon Laman and Lemuel and the Lamanites. A lot of people. Before I get started, I do want to say I hope I can portray this correctly in the manner that I wish to portray it. Again, my thoughts, my feelings are not doctrine, things that I preach. The things I teach, the things I talk about are not from official church leaders or anything like that. It's coming from me, my opinion. So hopefully I don't upset anybody, but if I do, everybody gets offended nowadays, so it's like, it's whatever. So we're just going to jump into it. Alma 3 talks about, again, the mark that was placed upon the Lamanites, the people that followed Laman and Lemuel once Nephi and Sam and Jacob departed after Lehi died. A lot of people think that having dark skin is a sin, or we believe that having dark skin is a sin, and that is not right. It is a way of, in this case, it's a way of identifying one group of people from the other. And I believe that, I don't just believe, I know for a fact that God did not wait until Laman and Lemuel sinned before he made and then he just magically made their skin dark. I believe it was over time. God, as we all know, is all-knowing, all-powerful, everything. He's God, omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, all those things. And so, I believe that Laman and Lemuel, growing up, was a little darker, or even if tanned more, than Nephi, Sam, and Jacob. And why I think this is because it can happen. My brother, and my younger sister both can tan, and they get pretty dark when they tan, will I say. But for me, I can't tan. I am white. I'm pale white, and I burn, and then I peel, and I turn white again. But my brother and my sister, they can tan, and whatnot. And my mom can't tan. My mom's the same as me, So I believe, what I honestly believe is that these people would have darker skin if they were out in the sun all day long, just as the Lamanites were. As you can read, it talks about the Lamanites only wearing a loincloth. They don't ever wear any clothing. So they're probably out in the sun a lot without any cover. So they're darkening their skin with the sun rays. And God knew this. God knew that Laman and Lemuel were going to choose whatever path. He knew these things. He knows the end from the beginning. He knows all this stuff. So he knew this. He knew what he needed to do to prepare it. And so he provided a way to distinguish the color, or to distinguish Lamanites from Nephites. And I believe if you look at it the way we are with war, we can distinguish each other by uniforms. Militaries have different uniforms. The U.S. has a different uniform than Germany, than Russia, than Afghanistan, any of these. We all have different uniforms to distinguish each other so that we know who's on what side. You know how much of chaotic it would be if somehow, if people started to wearing the same outfits. How could we tell who's who if we don't have uniforms, if we don't have distinguished looks, how can we distinguish this stuff, especially with the U.S.? We are a mixing bowl of races. We have so many different races. We can't just tell. We got people from Germany. We got people from the Netherlands. We got people from Africa. We got people from Asia. All these different races. How can we distinguish who we're fighting with all these races mingled in without uniforms? And so I believe it's a way of just distinguishing. Yes, it talks about it being a curse, but I believe that the scriptures, when it brings up curses, I don't think they are as bad. Or I guess in this context, I don't think it's as bad as everybody makes it out to be, like curses. When we hear curses in today's age, we're like, oh, that's a horrible thing. But in those times, I don't know. Maybe in those times it was bad. I don't know. But I do believe that it's just a way of distinguishing, who's who. Because how bad would it be if a Lamanite snuck in? We saw this. We saw this in the Book of Mosiah. Is it Mosiah? Yes, the Book of Mosiah. They found a Lamanite who had, maybe it is Alma. Oh, geez, I'm mixing it up. There's a story, either in Mosiah or Alma, where they find a Lamanite that joined with the Nephites, that repented of his ways. I believe it is, Alma. It was in one of the wars, and no, it is Mosiah. It's when Alma and their people, they were under control of the Lamanites, and so they were trying to escape, and they found somebody that was a Lamanite, but was a follower of Christ, and joined up with the Nephites, and they found him and asked him to deliver alcohol to the guards, and it succeeded because the guy was a Lamanite, because he had darker skin than the others. So of course they're like, oh, this is the Lamanite. These guys are on our side. This guy's on our side, so we're going to take the alcohol, give it to us. We're going to drink it all, Heck yeah. And so how bad would it have been if the Nephites would have had the same outcome? And you might be saying, well, why didn't they do that when they fought the Nephites? It says in this verse as well that anybody that ever goes against the Nephites, that turns their ways and joins with the Lamanites, they mark themselves, or they put a marking upon themselves, like the let me see, where is it? Amalekites, there we go. For they also had a mark set upon them. They ended up marking themselves with a red, they marked themselves, distinguishing that they were Amalekites. Why they would want to distinguish themselves, I don't know, but they did. And that was another way for the Nephites to tell who's who. And I believe God had this master plan set up. He's seeing everything already happening from the time that this is happening in time. He sees everything, even before the Nephites or the Lamanites, Nephi and his family even got over to the Americas. He saw it all, He knew all this stuff was going to happen. He didn't just wait until those times to place these things upon them. I believe they just had the gene to darken their skin, to tan, and end up being tanner. And then as they were more in the sun and whatnot, their skin started to adapt, and passing on generation to generation onto generation, their skin just naturally started getting darker and darker. And the Nephites, they wore clothing. They probably were, inside bit more. They probably didn't spend as much time outside as the Lamanites were, because they were more of a, I guess you could say, savage. Because the Nephites were striving to be, they followed the scriptures and whatnot. They had the teachings and to follow, and so they knew these things. Where the Lamanites, they lost those tools because the Nephi took them, and so they probably had more time outside, spent more time outside, and location-wise, I don't know exactly. We don't know exactly where they were located during these times, but I would guess location probably had something to do with it as well, where the Nephites and the Lamanites were located, whatnot. So I don't believe when it talks about being a curse that it's something that's bad. It's just a way of distinguishing one group from another. I don't think of it as a bad thing, like, oh, you guys think that because they have black sin, they're bad. No, we don't. It's just a way of distinguishing at the time the Lamanites and the Nephites. I'm not going to try telling you which side was good and which side was bad, because it goes vice versa through the whole scriptures. Sometimes the Nephites were good, sometimes the Lamanites were good, depending on groups and people. Because you got Samuel the Lamanite, he was a pretty great guy. And then you have the Nephites that were freaking doing awful things during the war at the end. So you can't really tell who's good and who's bad by just the color of their skin. It's by the doctrine and the principles that they grow and learn from. And you can learn that from reading the rest of the Book of Mormon, not just pulling out bits and pieces of the Book of Mormon, but reading the entire book, because that's what it was meant to do, is read the entire book and then pray about it, not pull some random scriptures out that you want to hear that prove that the Book of Mormon is wrong. But yeah, so hopefully I got my description, my thoughts out correctly. That again, the darker skin is just a way of distinguishing the Nephites from the Lamanites, so that things don't go bad. Because we do see that things did go bad for the Lamanites for falling for the trick of Lamanite giving Lamanites alcohol, and they believed that they were on their side because he was a Lamanite, because they had darker skin. That's all to it. So hopefully you've learned something. Let me know your thoughts and feelings. I'm probably going to get hit with some like crazy anti stuff, so that's going to be fun. I'll wait for those comments. But yeah, we'll talk to you guys in the next video. Bye.